take a look at this picture, it tells you a lot about exactly the state of our government. That's right, what you're seeing there is a picture of His Majesty the King, King Charles III, alongside the current British Deputy Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Angela Rayner. This was taken at Dumfries House for a charitable organisation for His Majesty the King. Now, as you can see, it looks like Angela Rayner is very much charming His Majesty the King. Something you couldn't say the same thing, of course, of the current British Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Keir Starmer. As we all know, Sir Keir Starmer is on record of not exactly being, shall we say, a fan of the British monarchy. But suddenly, when he got offered the title of Sir, he suddenly changed his mind. It happens a lot, you'll notice. And then, of course, is this really just down to him? Is he simply not a fan of the British monarchy, or indeed is his wife, Lady Victoria, less than enthusiastic about our wonderful British monarchy? When you look at a picture like this, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? But moving forward, His Majesty the King has now just been warned about this. As ever, let me explain. Morning, good to see you. Thank you so much as ever for your time today. Nice to have your company. You looking all right? Yes, you look quite good yourself. Well, you're not bad. Yes, well, of course you're going to bed. I understand. Rollers, curlers, you know what curlers are? Is that what you call them in your part of the world? Rollers or curlers? Do you remember Ina Sharples? Yeah, well, you see, you're showing your age if you remember all of that now, aren't you? Of course, somebody who comes from that neck of the woods is none other than the current Deputy British Prime Minister, Angela Rayner. Proud of her working class roots, and never fails to mention the fact that she comes from a, well, shall we say, background that is actually aspirational for anybody. And I would say that, you know, I think she's done incredibly well to reach such heights of power. Behind the scenes, I've been told, though, that she's kept very much in the dark. And in fact, the real power behind this current British government, the Labour Party, is none other than not Sir Keir Starmer, but actually the Secretary Sue Gray and Rachel Reeves. That's Rachel, who decided to rip away the winter fuel payment to the over 60s this coming winter, all while charging £4,000 for her own winter fuel allowance. You see how this works out. So what is this picture about, and why should His Majesty the King be very careful? Well, apparently, according to a very good source, as ever, we have to say allegedly, Angela was sent out on a mission to kind of warm up His Majesty the King. To that source, the very thin-skinned Keir Starmer is very aware that that particular footage of him being anti-monarchy is very much out there, and he wants to warm His Majesty the King up to make sure that they have a warm and fruitful relationship. Now, he recently spent some time up in Balmoral at the request of His Majesty the King to see exactly what the plans were and how things were going, you know, that type of stuff. They discuss policy, and it's all very informal. Moving forward, though, the reason why Angela was sent on this particular event is, as I say, she's very much under the radar, not exactly across political spectre, and people basically are just using her as a warm front woman who can perhaps cajole people into liking this particular beleaguered party. So why should His Majesty be concerned? Well, they think if that she develops this warm relationship, then of course this will make it easier for them, whatever policies they push through. If people don't believe how this particular sort of landscape works, the political landscape, you truly have to think again. When you think about it previously, of course, the Right Honourable Margaret Thatcher had something of a testy relationship with our late monarch, but friendship did develop after 3 terms. It is said that Sir Keir Starmer won't last the 1 term, so he's very keen to make sure that he comes out of this looking a little bit better than he's looking now. And he believes, of course, that the more warm and more likeable Angela Rayner can do a good job in turning His Majesty the King round into their way of thinking. Now, when you look at this footage, they clearly got on well, but is it a job well done? And should His Majesty the King be aware, and more importantly, be warned? Insiders think so. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.